Welcome to Whispers of the Web, where the hidden gems of the web come to life. Join us as we unravel the most fascinating tales, secrets, and discussions from across the web. Every whisper has a story. If you enjoy our journey through the whispers of the web, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the intrigue. Story number 1. Am I the a-hole for eating before my date arrived to the restaurant? So for context, I'm not a foodie. I eat to get full and not as an experience. I'll often eat at home before dinner outings just because I don't want to wait, and would rather enjoy the experience of the outing, which for me doesn't involve the eating portion. I met this girl online and we agreed on meeting at a restaurant for dinner to get to know each other more. Fast forward day of our date, we agreed to meet at 9 p.m. Now my day was super busy with work and I didn't get to eat lunch, and it's almost 8 p.m. and I'm starving. So I get ready and head to the date still having no food. I like getting to a date early so I can check out the environment, pick the best seats, and just prepare in general. So I arrived about 45 minutes early this time. Still starving, I decided I should eat to get that out of the way, or I'll be hungry and cranky having to wait another hour or so before I can eat. I finished my meal and ordered a cocktail. By this point my date is almost arriving. She gets to the restaurant and we instantly click. She's smiling and we're having great conversation. She's touching my hand. It's overall going extremely well. Eventually she asks if I would like to order some food, to which I respond, "No thank you, I'm not hungry." And she insists, saying she doesn't want to eat alone, but I tell her don't worry and eat, and that I am enjoying my cocktail. So we call the waiter over and she starts asking him for recommendations, to which he responds with no ill intentions that it seemed I really enjoyed the tacos, so maybe she should try them. At this point she's confused and asks what does that mean, so I told her I ate some tacos before she arrived. She immediately becomes furious, saying I'm rude and who eats before a date has even arrived. I explained to her that my goal was to get to know her, and the eating portion wasn't important. Regardless, the whole mood changed. She ordered some food, ate, and made an excuse to have to go leave. I haven't heard from her since then, and that was last night. So am I the a-hole? I'm going to have to vote that you are the a-hole here. It would be so awkward to eat in front of a first date that isn't eating too. She even said she didn't want to eat alone. I would literally refuse to order because I won't put myself through that awkwardness of trying to talk between chewing my food and they aren't doing the same thing. You absolutely should have eaten a snack before you showed up to the restaurant if you were so hungry as to enjoy half the date alone yourself. Even a granola bar would suffice so that you can enjoy the date with your date. Part of the date is eating, and the location was specifically chosen for a dinner date. So how can you see that you are not the a-hole here? Maybe eating with someone isn't an important aspect of a date to you, but that doesn't mean it isn't important to your date. It's pretty odd and a little selfish to not even consider that she would want to eat with you, not to eat while you watch. I also wouldn't call you back after that date, but I probably wouldn't have made it quite so obvious as to why I was upset. Story number 2. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend that my loyalties lie with my baby brother? My little brother recently moved in with me. It was a huge shock at first. My brother, Will 17, is female to male. I, male 34, had no idea he was trans or even questioning his gender. He always seemed perfectly happy as a girl. You know, he was very feminine presenting and all. Turns out he came out to our parents after getting his hair cut, and they didn't take it well in the slightest. From what he's told me, he wasn't exactly kicked out, they just started being unbearable. They were calling him Mila in every sentence they said, just to annoy him I suppose. Mum kept booking him in for appointments to get hair extensions and his lashes done. Our dad didn't let him wear the male uniform to 6th form, and so on. It got so bad that he literally took a train from down south to up north to ask if he could live with me. Of course I said yes. The house is big enough to have him live there. There's 4 bedrooms and an attic room. My girlfriend, Nico 32, was irritated when she found out. We've discussed her moving in before Will came, and now she's telling me that she will not move in until Will leaves. I've explained to her that Will isn't a child we'd have to constantly supervise, that if anything he's the one making the place more livable. He's very insistent on adding on to the home decor and so on, as well as being better than me at cleaning. And that the house is large enough to still have privacy even with him around. Nico's argued that it's not truly ours if Will is always there, that we won't be able to start trying to conceive, that she's not willing to live with a hormonal and rebellious teenager, and that she's just flat out uncomfortable with Will being near her and living with her and her son, male 10, in the same home. Ultimately, I've told her that my loyalties lie with my baby brother, who is homeless and vulnerable, unlike the grown woman with a good-paying job and a home of her own. She's called my mum up to complain about it, and she said that I was in the wrong for prioritizing Will, and Will himself said that he doesn't want to be causing problems in my relationship. You are not at all the a-hole. Your girlfriend has her own place, and your little brother does not have a safe place to live. She does not get to dictate who lives in your house just because you two have talked about her moving in there. She has shared her opinion and is now trying to get your parents to be on her side. The same parents who are treating your brother so badly. You should be proud of standing up to all of them and being there for your brother. I think you should have a conversation with Will about how important it is that he has a safe space, as well as have a conversation with your girlfriend about her true opinions regarding Will, because I'm getting bad vibes. Story number 3. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister her life choices have nothing to do with me? I, 30 female, have a sister, 20 female, named Jessica. We both had a child 6 years ago, and they are 3 days apart. I had a really good job out of college, and so did my husband, so during my son's first Christmas we made sure he had everything. My sister seen my Facebook post and began yelling at me that I'm rubbing everything in her face and that she couldn't afford to get her son, Peter, anything. My parents are well off, but they told my sister that they would support only her and not the child and would only be grandparents and nothing more. She refused to go after the father for child support because she loves him, but he already had 3 children by the time she had Peter. I just told her I worked for everything I had, and if she had waited, this could have been her life too. She posted a Facebook post about how she has no help, but instead of getting support, the bullies at her school told her she should have kept her legs closed, so she just deleted the post. 2 years later we both were pregnant again. She once again had a child by a deadbeat. He was a married 40-year-old. Our parents tried to press charges for statutory rape, but she wouldn't give them any information because he kept promising her that he would eventually leave his wife for her once she turned 18. This never happened. That year Christmas came around and she called my phone screaming that our parents wouldn't give her no money for gifts and that they only got her children 2 gifts apiece. I told her they are doing the job of grandparents. She called me AB and then hung up. Fast forward to now. Every year we take 2 vacations, one out of the country and one to a different state. Peter apparently began asking about the trips because we sent my parents a picture and they hung it on the fridge. Jessica told him, without asking me, that he would come with us this year. I would be happy to, but Jessica tells her son untrue things about my family, so her son bullies my son because he thinks my son stole his life. I told Jessica that would not happen, and asked her why does she think she's so entitled. She broke down crying, and right in front of me told Peter that I don't like him, and that's the reason he can't come. Peter called me AB. My parents were also in the room and asked where did a 6-year-old learn that language. My sister, instead of disciplining her son, said that I was being AB and that I should have adopted her son when I seen her struggling all those years ago. This happened a week ago, and we're on vacation now. My sister keeps calling me and I finally had enough. I told her if she didn't go around screwing the whole school she could have had this life, and to stop calling me unless it was an emergency. Ever since then she's been posting on Facebook. My parents told me not to worry about her, but as a big sister I feel bad, like I could have done more. It sounds like your sister really does need help, but she should have been getting it from your parents. I understand they don't want to support her being a pregnant teen, but once they saw her pain and struggle you would think they would step up and help to not only improve the family dynamic but help their grandchildren grow up surrounded by healthy relationships, because their mom clearly doesn't care who she sleeps around with. You are not the a-hole, your parents are, and your sister is terribly entitled. It sounds like she was taken advantage of as a teen and your parents should have pressed charges and kept trying to do so until they could. They should also push for child support from the fathers. This is not your problem, but it is clear you want your sister to be happier. It seems like she's taking her anguish and anger out on you when she should be angry with herself for being in this situation and your parents for not at all caring or providing for their grandchildren in this situation since she herself was still a child. Story number 4. Am I the a-hole for flaunting my money in front of my ex-wife? I had 2 weekends a month custody of my kids. Not that I didn't fight for equal custody, but I lost. I made a decision to give up custody of my kids because I was bleeding money. I was paying a lot of money on rent, and coupled with child support, it was not sustainable for me in the long run. I gave up the rest of physical custody. It did increase my child support by 10%, but that was way below what I was paying for rent. I moved to my parents' basement to save up some money. That's when the tide started turning in my favor. One of my coworkers, let's call him Richard, wanted a cheap place to rent, and I convinced my parents to let him rent their basement and let me stay in my childhood bedroom, aka new gym room. It wasn't easy and a lot to ask, but I was able to show a somewhat concrete financial plan. For 2 years Richard, now my best friend, rented my parents' basement, and I lived with my parents in my old room. To let me stay for 2 years was a lot of sacrifice my parents did for me. I was able to save a lot of money by basically not spending on anything other than food. I didn't buy any clothes, not even underwear, never went on a vacation, never went anywhere that would require any kind of money. I was not able to qualify for a mortgage because of my child support obligation, so I took my savings and my parents combined it with rent money from my coworker to put a down payment on a house. I have lived in that house for 6 years now. I rent it from my parents in the sense that they take normal rent from me and pay the mortgage, and rest goes into a fund for me. I got a roommate too, so technically I live for free. This has helped me save a lot of money. My parents are still renting their basement as they felt lonely after I and Richard left. Richard also bought a house in my neighborhood. All in all, life was difficult, but now it's good. I have saved a lot of money and I am planning a comfortable retirement. So after 6 years I finally have discretionary money to spend. So last year I took a week from work and traveled with my girlfriend, and I flaunted it on social media. My ex-wife suddenly started texting me that I am a deadbeat. I never missed a child support payment, and selfish as I should have taken the kids on vacation. When I gave up the custody I would have to beg her to let me talk to my kids. I remember the day when she asked for more money and refused to let me talk to my kids if I don't give it to her. That was the last day I ever contacted her or my kids. So I really didn't think she would have let me take the kids on vacation. I wrote about my journey to show that it was not easy to reach the place I am now. But I made it by sacrifice on my part, and my parents' part. I have a house and money that I earned for myself. I should be able to flaunt it and enjoy as I please. Am I the a-hole? It sounds to me like you have essentially abandoned your kids. Your ex-wife might be really good at keeping them from you, but for at least the last year you've been pretty well off. What have you done to get back in contact with your kids, lower your child support, or have some kind of custody of them? You are not the a-hole for going on a vacation with your girlfriend and posting it to social media, but you are the a-hole for not being there for your kids once you did get your life together. I think we would all like to know why you originally divorced from your ex-wife as well. Story number 5. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that his buddy's wife needing help is not my problem? Throwaway. My husband and I live right next door to his friend Tim and his friend's wife Jonah. I have a 4-year-old son and a week-old daughter. Tim and Jonah have a 5-year-old and 3-day-old boys. My labor went a lot smoother than hers did. She ended up needing an emergency hysterectomy, as she was bleeding out on the labor and delivery bed. They came home last night. Now, when they got home, Tim called my husband down to smoke a joint, and when he got back upstairs, he told me that Tim had asked him for a favor. Apparently he was wondering if I would go over to his house periodically throughout the day while he was at work to check on his wife and do tasks for her. Cooking, cleaning, keeping her company, as she was bedridden and feeling really down and depressed from the unexpected hysterectomy and the reality of not being able to have more children. Listen, I feel for the woman, I really do, but this is not my problem. I just had a baby myself a week ago, and even cooking for us is a chore in itself because of how exhausted I am. My husband said repeatedly. It's okay if you say no, I'm sure they would understand, but it'd be nice if you did this for them because I'm sure she could really use the company. And I know I'm being selfish, but I do not care if she could use the company. And I feel really backed into a corner and manipulated with wordplay. It's okay if you say no, but you should just say yes. that I'm getting really pissed off that I'm even asked of this. I asked my husband why him or his buddy would immediately think I would be available to do this, considering I just had my own baby and I'm also taking care of our 4-year-old. He said, I understand that, but you're already up and doing things and she can't even do that because she's bedridden, so she can't even make her kid food or anything. Anyways, I told him no. I told him I had a bad taste in my mouth about them attempting to back me into a corner for a yes answer with their guilt trips, and that if she was incapable of doing anything, Tim needed to step it up and either A. Take time off from work or B. Start meal prepping and call someone else to come into his home to do everything else. My husband and Tim work at the same job and they were both given 4 days off when we went into labor, so he had time to try and figure this out. But instead he just tried pawning it off on me, thinking I would say yes. My husband said that he doesn't blame me for saying no, but my attitude on it has caused tension between him and Tim because I'm acting heartless. Am I the a-hole for not caring that Jonah needs help and telling them it's not my problem? Edit to add. Just want to add here that I have met this woman twice, for at most 15 minutes each time. My husband has only met her maybe 3 times. He only just started hanging out with Tim 4 months ago after he started working with him. Their friendship just grew super quickly because we coincidentally moved right beside them a month after they met. You are absolutely not the a-hole. You are a weak postpartum yourself. You cannot be up and caring for another bedridden person. Your husband is an a-hole for not saying no to his friend before even bringing it to your attention. That is an utterly ridiculous request. They are both getting high with freshly born babies at home while asking their wives to take care of each other? This is the wildest request I've ever heard, especially because you barely know her. Her own husband needs to step up and your husband needs to apologize and realize his serious mistake. You mentioned you are taking care of the newborn and 4-year-old. Does he do much to help with them? I don't blame you for having a bad taste in your mouth. I have a bad taste in my mouth and I don't even have kids. Thank you for joining us for today's journey through the whispers of the web. Share your thoughts and suggestions for our next adventure. If you're not yet a part of our whispering community, click the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications to never miss out on another story. Join us next time as we uncover another enthralling tale from the web. Until our next whisper.